What's up, guys? Doug Polk here, and today we're going to be breaking down a huge hand that happened the other day over on the Hustler Casino live stream, where the entire table put their heads down in solidarity with Wesley when he jammed the river. On that note, let's go ahead and jump into the action. Our hand begins at 25, 50, 100, 300, with Chin opening it up with pocket queens to $800. Action folds around now to Wesley, who looks down in the cutoff at red aces. Definitely a hand you're going to want to re-raise. Decides to make it 2,600, a small in-position raise, definitely good on these deep stacks. Players are about $60,000 effective with $300 big blinds, so it's about a 200 big blinds deep situation. Chin now decides just to go ahead and call. A bit of a tight play here. You could certainly 4-bet every now and again. Queen's definitely a very strong hand, but certainly call, also a profitable decision. The players take a flop. Jack 9-4, 2 hearts, $5,500 in the middle. Chin checks as you should with all of his hands. Now over to Wesley, pocket aces. You're mainly going to want to bet here, although you would do some checking back. Typically speaking, when you have the ace of hearts, check gets a little bit better. Also, ace of clubs likes to check a little bit more because you block some backdoor flush draw floats. However, at the same time, this is a board you're going to want to bet quite often, so you can't really go wrong either way with the pocket aces, but it is something to put in your arsenal to every now and again check this back and look to trap the turn. Anyway, as for size, you go for a small or big size. Typically speaking, boards like Queen 10X with a flush draw like to go big, and as the board gets lower, you like to use a bit of a smaller size. Wesley decides to go 4,500 into 5,500, a very large size in the flop here, but totally acceptable. Typically speaking, the more the two cards at the top are high and connected with a flush draw, the bigger you like to go. So this size does make sense. Over at Chin, pocket queens, definitely going to be just wanting to call here with this large bet. When players bet large, you typically don't like to use sizes or strategies other than just call. The turn comes the king of spades. The queen 10 straight gets there. Chin with pocket queens, of course, blocks that. Checks it over once again to Wesley. Wesley with pocket aces has to be getting a little bit concerned now. King jack suited is moving to the lead. If Chin had a set like jacks or nines, those hands, of course, still in the lead. I wouldn't anticipate his opponent having kings, so he shouldn't be scared of that hand. And also, if Chin decided just to call pretty well with ace king and then call flop, which would definitely be a standard play, this turn gets there as well, although he does still beat ace king in that scenario. He does bet 10K here, get some value from some of those hands like ace king, like queen jack suited, like pocket tens, like pocket queens. Still plenty of hands to get value from. Now for Chin, with pocket queens, things are getting a little bit dicey. Does he want to call or does he want to raise? I think this is a spot where you just want to be calling with most of your range. It doesn't really make sense to raise all too often. He does decide to make the call. We take a river off suit 8. Chin now pocket queens. Flush draw has bricked out. Relatively safe river for him. And Wesley with pocket aces has a bit of an awkward situation. I think the turn size was maybe a little bit too small when I think about this. I think you want to set up for a roughly geometric size on the river where the turn bet is the same as the river all in. Here, the turn bet was a bit small, only 10K into about $14,000, $15,000. So the river bet has to be an over bet of 45,000 into 35,000. I think the turn bet size should have been more like 13,000 and the river bet would be all in for the same rough size. Anyway, not to get too into the weeds on sizing, should aces be jamming here? It's certainly a question. I think typically speaking, this is a little bit too thin for the size of the pot. Chin really can call here with hands that mainly beat aces. Yes, every now and then he's going to have to call with a hand like ace king, but he can have king jack suited. He can have jack 9 suited. He could have pocket jacks or pocket nines if those slow played on the flop. He could have queen 10 suited that slow played the turn. He can have king jack suited. There are plenty of hands here that Chin can call with where he does not need to call too wide outside of hands that beat one pair. This makes me not like this jam all that much. I think you should be betting a small size here on the river given our turn bet, or realistically be betting larger on the turn to set up the stacks. Over to Chin with pocket queens facing this jam from aces, we begin to see something incredible happen. The entire table takes to Wesley's pose. There you have it. 7 people with their heads down, and of course, the 8th person can't be left out. We have a snap all in and 8 heads on the table, paying homage to the $1 million game, where we saw Wesley go into his signature pose a couple of different times, including hands that I was involved in. Now with Chin with queens, I think we have a pretty obvious fold without some kind of live read. you simply just have way, way, way better hands to call with, and you also have the queen of hearts. Typically speaking, with the queen of hearts, you want to be folding because your opponent, if they are bluffing, might be bluffing with a hand like ace queen of hearts, or maybe ace queen with the queen of hearts. So in this situation, plenty of better hands, can definitely have ace king, can definitely have those two pairs in sets. This is the kind of hand you probably just want to lay down. But ultimately, he doesn't believe him, makes the call, and gets the bad news from the artiste.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I don't know why.
Puts in the call. Here's the bad news. Artist.
He's gonna fall asleep.
Tell him, Wes. Tell him how much value you got there.
That's going to be a reload in seat 6. A little bit of a light call down there, but it is good to try and make your opponents earn the pot. However, I think I would have stuck to some safer hands when calling a river all in. That's going to do it here for Poker Hands. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you guys again soon.